aka Geeks.
Alright everybody, welcome back to another episode of AKA Geeks, part of our E3 lineup. We're doing things a little bit different. We're doing Microsoft, because actually they were first, so we're going to do them first. So let's get down to it. What was it, 2.5 hours almost?
No, it was about an hour and a half.
It felt like 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
I guess because
we watched it outside.
We watched it outside because we had just gotten into LA. Well, I had just gotten into LA and we had to sit in front of. We got to be in front of the Xbox Theater.
While everybody was watching it inside, we were
Yeah.
outside sitting by the Staples Center watching it on our phone.
So we were the true diehards because we were sitting outside the theater on our
Yeah.
cell phones.
We ended up watching it again,
Yeah.
so we got our, everything refreshed, and boy did they have a lot. They showcased a lot of stuff. If anybody was complaining about games, complain to more.
I'm sure people are going to complain.
Yes.
People will always complain. And we'll get into that later. But yeah, they really went balls to the wall.
First thing they showed us,
Halo Infinite.
yeah, it was just CGI.
Yeah.
Prius said pre-game or engine game demonstration. It said engine. It said game engine demonstration. I think it said.
Yeah.
But it was like CGI essentially.
That's a lot of questions to that trailer though.
Yeah, the biggest one that comes from it all, I think, is what we see at the end, which they then again highlight at the end of the conference to close the conference.
Yeah.
Is Master Chief putting the chip for the AI usually used to be Cortana back into his helmet.
So we don't know if this is a sequel. We don't know if this is a playoff like Halo 3 ODST
Or
Reach or anything like that, even though technically Reach is a prequel. So, but nonetheless, we don't know if it is Cortana. We know that they're on Ringworld. We saw some ODST troopers as well as some regular troopers, UNC troopers. But that's it. So where this takes place, no clue whatsoever. We just know it's Chief and Chief alone. So it's getting back to grassroots here.
Now, hopefully they are able to fix the story with this one, obviously, because they had some things that happened in 5 where they're going to have to do some workarounds to get back to... well, they're going to have to do some workarounds, and they'll have to figure out that, and that's my main thing is that for this game, is I want them to get back to a story that's, has more heart to it.
Yeah.
Like, 4 started off with a good path with what happened with Master Chief and Cortana. Then 5,
Yeah, it's because it was still, still a Chief and Cortana story.
Yeah, then 5 kind of went off the handle, and it was like, let's get in one fist fight, and then okay, now I'm on your side. And it's like, yeah, no, just give us Chief. So
To be fair, I still want to see Buck come back as a Spartan.
that'd be fine, but let's get back to good storytelling and give us a good
That Blue
story.
Team. Bring back Blue Team. I'll be good with that.
Next thing they showed us was we got Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
About time.
Yeah.
Microsoft. About time.
It looks really good.
Yeah. Ori looks a little older. Of course, there's a cute new little partner with him, with the owl. I mean, he can do a lot of different moves with him.
Yeah, it looks like the owl replaces his little parachute thing.
Yeah,
at
so
one point.
he's able to glide with the owl. He does even the owl does some combat moves as well. There's new weapons. Ori
Yeah, it
has
looks
something
like
that
it's
looks like a
sword.
light sword.
Yeah.
That comes out of
That
him.
makes sense though. I mean, Ori's older in this now,
Yeah.
obviously, so he's learned how to hone his powers or whatever we want to call it, his light.
Yeah, so if you love the first one and reboot it, yeah, you want to have it.
Really great game.
Yes.
Some parts of that were stinking difficult, but yeah. And just so we make this clear, we're gonna skip a few things because they had
there's
50
we're not
things.
we're not going through all 50.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
gonna took some of the key ones.
We got about 10 things we're gonna do.
Yeah, those are the key elements we're taking away from this. But overall, the conference itself was pretty steadfast, very steady. There was one lapse in it, and we'll get to that towards the end of the video. But let's continue on. I put Battlefield 5 because I know I mentioned it when I did the coverage of the EA Play conference.
The EA conference.
But this was on the stage. It was focused on the single player campaign, so you got to see more of the war stories.
Yeah, they're focusing on vignettes, so they got I think
like
5
they did with
vignettes.
the first one.
Yeah. We both played it yesterday.
We both had hands on. Yeah, we were at EA Play. The game's ready.
Looks good. It plays well.
Yeah.
It feels different than Call of Duty, just like it should.
Tanks feel definitely heavy.
I didn't get a drive in anything. I just went around killing people.
I drove an APC and I drove a tank and I sucked both times.
Yeah.
The handling's gonna be a little bit tougher than normal battlefield weapon.
But it looks good. I like what we played was that was the ground the new mode where and it goes by 3 days.
Yeah.
And it was you could see what the only thing is though because we were in such a hurry I was trying to see what I was supposed to do. All I knew I was like running to A.
Yeah.
And then because I couldn't see.
It felt a lot like that
rushed.
and everything. And
I felt I was rushed.
I felt like I
was.
was lost in certain parts because when if you die, you respawn and you're jarred. You don't know where you're at. And next thing you know, you're hearing commands, and you're looking for the little cursor where the A is, and sometimes it doesn't even pop up.
Yeah, sometimes
I just would plant my feet. And
if
just
you still had a member of your team, your squad alive, and they're not surrounded by enemies, you can spawn on top of them, or you can be redeployed from a point further back. So there are some differences in there which are good, bad, and in between.
Yeah.
So it was good. I enjoyed it. What they showed here, nothing to blow your mind, nothing more than what we saw already.
Basically, what really matters for certain people, like for me, is always the campaign. So we know the multiplayer is not going to change, so it's not going to be any different. This is just straight up single player vignettes. We already told you what the multiplayer was from, so definitely check it out.
Next up, you put down Tales of Vesperia. Now, I'm not a big Tales guy because I haven't played any. I like the art style.
I put this for one of the same reasons you did. It's because this is a game that's been on my radar, but I just never pulled the trigger just because it was only on PlayStation prior. And we're getting a complete edition of this, and like this is the first time we're getting a complete edition of any type of Tales game. So to have it on there would be
I think it said I think they made a mention of it being the first time it's being on Xbox or being something like that.
So that's real quick why I wanted to mention Tales.
Division 2 they showed off, which that looks great, and they showed like a little vignette thing like they did with the first one of talking about the disease and the virus, and then they went into some actual gameplay, which it looks gorgeous.
Yeah, it's going to be based in Washington, D.C., and they showed the Capitol building, they showed another group squad, just like they did with the first one, going through certain areas of the city and going back and forth. One spot that I couldn't tell is when they took out the big, huge guy with the armor.
Yeah.
And she shot up the flare, and she was like, okay, we have this position.
At that point, I didn't know if they were actually doing the campaign.
This is where
this was the dark zone
with that. Whether
this is the dark zone.
I don't know if it was Dark Zone because it didn't feel as separate from the rest of the story. Where Dark
it looked
Zone,
like they were playing. It was computer controlled players.
Right.
So it wouldn't be PvP, but it felt like why would you be shooting up the flare unless that's part of the mission?
Unless that's part of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So until that's a little bit more clarified, that's the only oddball out. The game looks a lot sharper, a lot cleaner, but obviously Ubisoft has had almost
2 years
almost
to add on and build a little bit.
Almost 3, because the year before it released, I was alpha and beta testing that, and so 3 years with that full-on campaign. This game is not coming out, like the first one did with that launch. So it looks sharp, looks cleaner, looks a lot more brighter, it's visually stunning. So hopefully we know the gameplay is there. So Division fans should be happy.
Next one up that we wanted to talk about was something we both love, but we weren't able to get through the game because it's too damn hard. Was Cuphead.
Yeah.
They're bringing out, and they didn't specify it's DLC or an expansion or if it's a whole new game. It's called what is it called? Cuphead and the Delicious Last Course.
Yeah.
So and you can play as the new Chalice character.
Lady Chalice.
Lady Chalice.
Yeah, Golden Chalice had been, I don't know if that's a downgrade, because Golden Chalice, she's legendary, but now she's Lady Chalice.
They let us play as her, so that's really cool.
Yeah.
I
don't think this is a new game.
think it's probably just an expansion.
I remember MDHR, I'm on their media stuff, and they usually send out info on this. And they said it would take too long to make another game in general.
I think it's probably just. I think it said it's a new island, so I'm assuming it's just like
it's
another new world.
I think it's just another add-on.
So instead of 1 and 2,
game.
it's just now it's a third one.
Yeah.
Or something. So there was that. We both love it, but we just can't. It's so difficult.
We're gonna work our way through it.
Yeah. Next up was just a tease that Battletoads,
Yes, finally. It's he wore that shirt. What was it, like
3-4 years ago,
3-4 years ago? So basically, at
That's
the
yeah.
beginning.
which was a really cool shirt. I'd love to have that shirt.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they'll release it somehow now.
The only thing is the only thing is that's confusing. Not confusing. It just leaves you wondering: is this game gonna be new graphics or is it gonna be model after old? Because what they teased us with was something that looks older.
Well, it looked like it was it said
2.5D,
2.5D.
4K rendering of a 2.5D.
Right, so that right there is new animation. Just because the original one obviously was at 8-bit.
No, I'm not talking about animation. I'm talking about art. I'm talking about
the art style.
Get anything. I'm wondering which is they're gonna do because it looks like they teased us with the old style, but then they're also saying it's gonna be 4K.
Yeah, because I don't think it's going to
2.5.
look like the Battletoad like he did in Killer Instinct. Since you're able to play them in Killer Instinct, I don't think they're going to use those models.
Okay.
I think they're sticking with the cartoonish style. That they
Yeah.
exist with.
I'm just wondering if it's gonna be like because you can still do 4K of something like Shovel Knight. You
Yeah.
can still do it, and that's what I'm saying. Are they gonna still stick with that older style, or go something in a new art direction? So that's what I'm saying. Art direction, not.
I think this is going to mimic closer to Cuphead than it would Shovel Knight. Is what I'm saying. So I think that's what they're trying to do.
All right.
But we'll find out more when we hear more about it. We're not going to hear more about it maybe till what, 2019 was it?
Yeah, 2019. No one said. Now the ones that you also put down was a trio of games. Was Gears, all out Gears. Rod Ferguson came out.
Yeah, that was leaked prior that there was going to be three Gears game, and only one of them was technically right, which was the tactical game, Gears Tactics.
Well, I don't know. What do you mean by technically right? They're all Gears games, so.
Yeah, I know, but they mentioned it. The way they mentioned it, it was completely off because they mentioned
Who's they?
the leakers. I don't know them personally,
Okay.
so because this had them leaked before. We do get the next Gears 5. That was acknowledged. But
There was a chunk of stuff in there with Gears 5 as well. It was CG, but also gameplay.
yeah, they showed a little bit of both, which was a good mixture, but we're not getting it this year. We're getting it.
And there was some really cool stuff in there, like a living turret, and it
Yeah.
looked like some of the bad guys, some of the baddies had like physically,
it looks like
surgically attached like
it looks
things
like
on
the
them.
swarm are mutating.
Yeah, or
More
somebody's
so?
doing experiments on them,
Yeah,
attaching weapons.
Because now some of them break apart and then find their way back together into different shapes. Because that's what the one turret after it got exploded, it started to.
I didn't see that. I just saw the turret. It had 3 prongs, which were biological, that
Yeah.
was standing on. So I think that's.
There's-
and then the way they were shooting things, they had like guns on their mounted on their shoulders.
Yeah, there's a big gap in the story as well because this looks like it takes place maybe 3, maybe 5 years after
A good portion of time.
Gears 4. We don't know, but there's a lot of questions in this trailer, and I'm hoping somewhere down the line we either get some type of lore before the game releases, or else we're going to be.
Yeah. And then they also had the Gears Pop, which was cute. And I want to say that they mentioned it was going to be playable at E3. I think they said it was. I think they might have, but I have to go back and watch it. And then there's Gears Tactics.
But Gears Pop looked like it was a 3-on-3 thing.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if it's a mobile match 3.
Yeah.
Like a mobile match 3 or something.
I think that's. Weren't they saying it was going mobile?
I would assume that they would do a mobile game to take some pressure off the team
Yeah.
of developing a whole game
Yeah.
versus something that's mobile that might be smaller in conception.
And Funko, to use Funko as a collaborator, that's big.
Yeah, and then the tactics, which I like the style of that. It looks great.
Yeah.
It looks like it's the actual Gears game, but from a
Top-down
further perspective.
So if you guys like Halo Wars 2 or Halo Wars, this is pretty much the same concept. You're leading squads of troops and vehicles to certain positions, fending off against the locusts. And I didn't see any swarms, so I think this takes place. Because I think Ferguson said it takes place between both.
I didn't catch when he said that, but I would assume it's in the main trilogy, within the main trilogy.
Yeah. So, but it looked pretty. But there was also no release date on that.
No release date on that one either. So that was what you wrote down. A couple things I want to make sure we mention before we wrap this up. PUBG is going to have 4 maps by the end of the winter this year, which makes me happy. They showed an icy one, so that's really cool. The other things I want to mention is the big two that I like a lot are the Game Pass. I don't care about the fast start crap. That was, I think, the down point that we were talking about.
That's exactly where
They didn't have to go and explain fast start to us. We didn't care.
No, I think that could have been sent out in a nice little press memo on the page, on the
We're
webpage
working
itself.
on this technology
Hope you
that
enjoy
we've
it.
really
That's it.
been focusing on. Please,
That should have been
you know,
2 minutes.
Yeah, and so they really focused on that. But the thing that I like about Game Pass, what they focused on, was the fact that they're letting us play, as of yesterday, Division, and Elder Scrolls Online, and Fallout 4. And so all of those are going to be on Game Pass as of yesterday, and they're all enhanced for 4K.
Yeah.
So that's great news. So now I can start playing Elder Scrolls Online.
Also, another Game Pass news, a lot of the Xbox ID games, a lot of them that are not first-party games, are also going to be made available through Game Pass on day of launch, as well as some of the third parties that they had on stage, which is the first, and that means Game Pass is getting the motivation that it needs, and a lot of developers are saying, hey, this might work for us. Let's give it a shot.
They're getting the backup that they need.
Yeah. So
The other thing I wanted to say was regarding ID at Xbox and how many indie games that they touched on. Now, I don't play a lot of indie games, but there were some in here that are very important. Below is the main one that
at least for us, yeah.
that everybody wants. They've been waiting on. They've been showed it off for now 2 years, I think, or more than that.
that was first on the launch.
That's one that we got to keep our eyes out for. Out of all the other games for ID at Xbox, there was one we talked about on the podcast the other day. It was Generation Zero, and because it's an ID and Xbox game now, to me that means it's going to be an exclusive.
We'll find out.
Unless if it is an exclusive, I assume that Microsoft is still publishing it, and they're just making money.
Right.
They're going to be making money from all the other consoles
Like
that it's on,
Minecraft.
just like Minecraft. So those are those.
The last thing.
I was surprised they didn't do a car for Forza Horizon 4, and then the big one that caught my attention, and I caught your attention as well, I feel, at least for me, before I finish, and we could throw a couple more in there, was Tunic. They showed this one off. I remember it last year. I don't know if they did it the year before, but that one looked awesome. It was a 3D, 3/4 viewpoint of Zelda style, but with the fox. The art direction's beautiful. Yeah. It looks like almost Technicolor kind of, but clean, straight edges.
It was very colorful, a la Super Lucky's Tale. Not as bright because it does have that Zelda-esque vibe to it, and it keeps that, but it's still a colorful, wonderful world.
And it's a 3D world.
Yeah.
Like, it's totally a 3D world because you could turn the map. So that means you don't always have a fixed camera. So that's another interesting aspect comparative to Zelda that we didn't have before in previous games. I don't know if we're gonna see it tonight. The big one. It's Devil May Cry 5, but they did show it first on Xbox, Microsoft stage.
Yeah.
So
they actually had the director and his what do you want to call him? His spokesman.
Oh yeah, he looked like a little kid. He's the director. He speaks and he's like this.
But Microsoft so there's got to be some type of relationship between them and Microsoft for them to be on stage. Whether they show up tonight for Sony, we'll find out. We'll let you know.
I imagine they would because
unless
Microsoft, well yeah, but unless Microsoft gives you a lot of money, I don't know why you want that game to not go out to everybody.
But no, that's what I'm saying. But I don't. They might just show
video, but not have them on stage talking.
Right.
In knockdown sentences. Anything else you want to touch?
The last thing I want to touch, first time shown on Xbox's stage. I don't care what anybody says. The Cyberpunk 2077.
Yes.
CD Projekt Red went full blown excitement with just.
Everybody started freaking out.
Yeah, because they interrupt.
And it was perfect how they put it on
there. The timing was perfect.
Yeah.
Phil was waving everybody off, saying goodbye, and the lights go out, the screen fades, it starts to flicker, and the next thing you know, somebody's hacking into the screens.
Yeah.
And all you see is CD blah 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 blah, and then Project, and then next thing you know, password red, and out came the trailer for Cyberpunk.
It was good. My only thing about it is it's a CGI, pure CGI.
Yeah.
That's the only thing about it. I love CGI trailers. I think they're great. But I've learned over time to try to tone it down.
Yes.
I'm 32 now, and I don't have the energy to get all pumped up for CGI trailers like I used to when I was 18.
Yeah.
So it looks great. The trailer, the style looks great. Some of the stuff looks very reminiscent of Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah.
Some of it also reminds me of somewhat of like hairstyles and not in the major aspect of the game, but in Sunset Overdrive,
Okay.
like the mohawks and like the punky vibe to it.
Yeah.
The punk vibe, I guess that's what I guess I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that's really cool.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not worried the fact that this was just CG because it's CD Projekt Red. We know what they're capable of. We know, first of all, we know that in comparison to Witcher 3, this already had Xbox Enhanced at the end of the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be at 4K. Whether it's going to be at 60 frames, we'll find out when they release more info. But
It's gonna look awesome. I'm really excited for it.
I'm grateful that they showed that on the Xbox stage. 'Cause I think that was a great way for them to finish off the show.
Not my most anticipated game though,
That's fair.
but it's up there.
That's
If
fair.
they showed gameplay, oh man, my mind would have been blown. At that point, I wouldn't have held back.
But it also felt like there wasn't a lot of Microsoft games.
No. Let's touch on that as well, though.
Yeah.
One aspect of that is something that a lot of people don't call out. And people give Sony their due credit, which they deserve because they have all these first-party games. But also, we've been seeing, and nobody wants to mention this, that Sony is just buying a lot of these games. It seems like they're paying them outright exclusive rights fees to get these games. So Microsoft went on stage and said, "We are adding 5. We've obtained 5 new development studios."
And actually,
so they're
one
now,
of them is created by them.
the initiative.
The initiative.
That's going to be their quadruple A studio that they've been talking about. But like that's what they've been doing now. They got to do that because everybody doesn't even think about it when Sony does it. They give them the benefit of the doubt.
But what's funny is that, and to be fair, one of the other things that usually happens, and we've seen it before, if Nintendo releases a Mario or a Donkey Kong or a Zelda, everybody was like, "Oh yeah, that's great, that's awesome, can't wait for it." And those are franchise titles for Nintendo. If they shell them out every other year or so, everybody supports it and says, "Oh, yep, definitely, I'm behind it." The moment that Microsoft does it with Halo and Gears, or even Killer Instinct, I'll use because that's one of their first-party titles, or Forza, everybody's like, again with the same garbage. Why can't they do anything else? Pick a side. If you're going to say that about one studio, say it for everybody because everybody does it.
To wrap that point up, it's just that Microsoft, this one, they're showing that they're doing the work needed to get more first-party titles out there, regardless of them buying developers. At least they're developers that they're constantly working with, and they already
work with.
They're already
Undead Labs
with State of Decay, Playground Games, with the Forza series. They're studios that they've been working with on a pretty exclusive basis. Yeah. So at least they're doing that. To me, it's the same as what Sony's doing.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna give Sony props for all their first-party games, which I do because their games are awesome. We played God of War, we loved it.
Yes.
So, but let's also give props to Microsoft. I'm glad that they're doing
and
this.
if you're gonna tear down a studio for doing it, then you better tear all of them down because they all do it.
Let's get off the negative part, but let's just say that's good that they're doing something to show that they're focusing on first-party titles, and that's always good. The only thing that they mentioned a tease partially about Fable without mentioning Fable when they were talking about Playground Games, and they didn't go any further.
Yeah. Hey, Walmart Canada, you were wrong on that one.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing that we'll talk about in another conference.
That one we'll wait until we're back home and we're gonna pull out that list and say we're gonna check off.
Well, no, I'm talking about the Walmart Canada jab. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Definitely.
But I think that's it for Microsoft. So.
Yes. So, like as always, catch us in the next few videos, and we'll be doing a couple of these from here in LA at E3. Tomorrow we're doing all show floor stuff, so we'll be live casting as much as possible.
Playing some games too. Hopefully we'll get to play, like I said, Gears of War Pop. That'd be cool.
That's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to run over to the Microsoft studio for that one.
Yeah, we'll see.
But we'll see what we do. Stay with us on everything we do. Follow us everything we do, and just keep it here at AKA Geeks. As always, until next time, catch you on the dark side. we're back, Sean. What happened?
We had to do a wardrobe change because we forgot to rate. Forgot to rate Microsoft. We said goodbye before we did.
Yeah, we said goodbye. We didn't even give a rating for this, so might as well do so. Sean, my friend, what do you think?
I give it. I don't know, man. It's in the A's. It's top notch. They did a lot of stuff that I liked overall.
Okay.
They did everything that they're supposed to. There's only one down part, which was when they mentioned fast start. But even then, it was momentarily. It was momentary. It's right up there with Bethesda. I gave Bethesda an A. I'd have to give this an A. And so they're, I don't know. Maybe off camera I'll say which one I like more.
I think
they're right there. But they're both right there as A's.
I don't think I need to ask them off camera. It's pretty much a done deal.
But yeah, both of them are A's. Microsoft did a really good job. And you can go more into the stuff that I'm going to stop at right now.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. I'm going to go exactly the same way. A for me as well. They promised on games. People always, but they promised on games the last 2 years. Let's be realistic. But this time they actually showed games that are coming to them this year and beyond, which is something that they've always done. And everybody complains, well, oh look, another Halo. Oh look, another Gears. It's the same thing. How many times are they going to do Halo and Gears? Well, ask yourself this. How many times are we going to get FIFA? How many times are we going to get Madden? We get those on yearly. So let's stop with that. These are franchise titles, or even better. How many times we got to see a Zelda? How many times we got to see Super Mario Brothers? But it's the same thing. It's a beloved franchise to a console. So obviously you expect the console first party exclusive to be on those titles. So I'm not going to hate the fact that Nintendo wants to do 100 Zeldas or 100 Marios because I'm going to play them. I'm not going to hate that Microsoft is going to invest money on their Halos, their Gears of War, because that's what makes them money. On top of that, we saw a lot of new stuff. We saw a lot of surprises. A lot of Devil May Cry 5 being shown on their stage. I didn't get my Splinter Cell. They would have gotten an A+ if they would have shown Splinter Cell. But nonetheless, overall solid A. And that's pretty much an ending to our scoring. So I won't say goodbye, because we already did our goodbyes. But catch us on the next one.
aka Geeks.